Instead, you have a design that you actually understand. You're using your knowledge of self. What is your process for grief when you got to let something or someone go? Really didn't want to have to hold this microphone the whole time, but the sound said, nope, it's not picking up. Okay. What I'm doing is about what happens after accomplishment. How do you integrate the wisdom and the lessons from your accomplishments? Because in 2012, we said, okay, we're going to pull the girls out of school. A couple years into that, we said, okay, we now want to focus on a location independent life. We wanted to travel and have learning be something that we were really mindful about, like how it was happening, and really savor our learning experiences across cities and countries and eventually continents. And we did that. Our goal wasn't to make a bunch of money. We were not focused on that. We didn't amass a lot of dollars, but what we did amass were all the resources to do the things that we focused on doing, and some things that we didn't even think were possible for us on the way. So if I was focused on money first, I don't think I would have gotten the things that I got, the things that we, our family of four, got. The money came when it needed to. And then the resources, the things that we thought we needed money to get to, those came first. So those are two lessons. The money didn't come first, right? Like we didn't try to have a certain amount of money before we did a thing. So the first time we went to South Africa, we didn't decide that we could go because we had the money for the tickets for all four of us, and housing for the entire 3 months, and money for grocery shopping for the entire 3 months, and money for transportation for the entire 3 months. We didn't have all of that. We had as much of that as we needed to feel comfortable moving forward. And we often found ourselves in positions of being in community with people we didn't know until we decided to do the trip, who could offer us a car or free or super low cost housing and all of these things. And so because I was writing about it and eventually podcasting about it, I was able to be really present to some extent to what was really happening in my life. And it was really a series of goals. I wanted to be a lot less schoolish. I wanted to understand learning, and I wanted my children to understand learning in a natural, everyday way, not a colonized, segmented, subject by subject for an hour at a time type of way. I wanted to be in deeper relationship with my children. I wanted them to get to know me and their father as people, not just as their parents. And I wanted to get to know them as people, not just as students at particular schools. I wanted to be exposed to different languages and have my children be exposed to different languages. I didn't want to be stuck in the US South in racist ass America. I didn't want to be stuck here. I wanted my own mind, and certainly my children's minds, to be thinking about the world of options for where they could live and grow up, not just where they were born or not just where their parents or grandparents lived, but the whole world as an option. Those are some of the goals that were really present at the start of our journey, and a few of the other ones that showed up while we were on the journey. And we were able to meet every single one of those goals. We had no goals to buy a house, so we didn't. We didn't want the weight, the anchors that came with home ownership. That's not what our lives and our needs were calling for at that time. And we were able to use 8 years to focus on lifelong learning and partnership, intergenerational equity, essentially. And those goals were met. So the question now is, what do I do now that I've accomplished that big goal? We don't just move on to the new goals. Before that, we honor and take the time needed to integrate the lessons we learned from doing the walk of accomplishing that last major goal. So this space in between the doing of the things is savoring. That's the space that I name as savoring. And that's what I'm really just needing to take the time to do. So, all of the things that came up during that 8 year period, my podcast, which was my primary source of income, and it was also how I spent the bulk of my time, those things have now come to a close. And now I'm going to do that integration work out loud because it's what I do. What happened from 2014 to 2022 and now in 2023, who and what I am, and what my big audacious goals are this time around. That's what's present and continuing to arise for me now. And all of that is informed by the accomplishments and the failures of the last 8 years. So, this is all about integration after major goals have been met, new ones have formed. So now is the time to cultivate this farm, what has happened as a result of this, the seeds that have been planted, like be with what we did as a family, to be with it so that we can be in healthy relationship with all that wisdom and be able to tap into it for what we got going on moving forward. I don't want to charge on to the next set of things. And I do already have some clear ideas about what I want. We have some clear goals about moving back to Africa permanently, about making a certain amount of money each month just on the strength of what I do, and telling more stories through my hands and making things, not just with my words. Those are some of my big goals. And I want to feed into those using what I know now from those last 8 years. I'm going to make sure I'm pulling the medicine, the wisdom, the knowledge, the connections that were made with people and processes and rituals and pouring into that so that I don't try to use the same energy that I use to move through my goals over the last 8 years and try to apply that to this, because I can't. And I'm really clear about that. I am different. The world is different. The communities that I'm part of are different. The language that we use in our social circles now is different. And I'm going to meet those as myself, as a member of community, willing to do my own personal evolution work, because that directly impacts my capacity to show up in community in ways that are supportive and helpful and feel like a link and a connection and not the opposite. And so that's what I'm doing here out loud. This is what my journey now is about. So when I say and write that I'm done with unschooling, it don't mean I'm done being an unschooler. It don't mean that I'm done advocating for unschooling, sir. It means that my focus and my goals and my vision and my tactics and my rituals and practices are not around moving away from school or a school-centric mindset and life, because I have done that. I've supported other people in doing that. And I've done so much through that work, like beyond it. Now, what is present? What do Marley and Sage need differently now at 18 and 16 than they needed at 8 and 6? What do I need differently now at almost 46 that I didn't need at 39? Right? That's what this is about. And so when you think about your own life and journey, it feels important that you have processes for noticing, naming, sorting the wisdom, the lessons that you've gotten, so that you're not just piling it up all in one space. Like you got this big ass house with so much information that you have gathered, so many potentially useful connections that you've made, but they're all in a house and you're not exactly sure where to find them. And there's so much stuff in there that you cannot even find your footing. Instead, you have a design that you actually understand. You're using your knowledge of self, knowledge of source moving through you. You're able to make the connections to notice how you attract what you attract, what kind of rituals you've organically, intuitively developed over time for the oh shit moments, the things you liked about how you handled something, and the things that you want to move into a different energy or different space with. Who came into your life, who stayed and it was good, and who needed to get the on. What is your process for grief when you got to let something or someone go? What is your personal process for celebrating your wins, the small ones too? So these are the questions I'm asking myself and asking you, and just moving through all of that out loud. And I'll be doing that mostly on my newsletter, Savor Complex, and also migration stories, two different vibes, but see in person also right here on YouTube. And it's going to be interesting, on the other side of this 8-year laser focus on unschooling. So, having secured certain things gives me the spaciousness to focus on other things. You know what I'm with it, right? Like, you know that in your own life. And between housing security and seminary, because I'm in my first year of seminary, it's just different. I am in a whole nother world over here. And I really want to be present about that and take the lessons from the space before this, because I have some wisdom to sort through and to share. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.